Hey guys, this is Nick Christopher from Mob Tales. Hope you guys are doing well. Please like, subscribe, and share. We definitely appreciate it, your support. Um, Today we got a pretty interesting guest, Brett from New York Crime Spot, which is a pretty cool concept to begin with, and I'm dying to learn a little bit more about it. Um, Brett, thanks a lot for coming on the show. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, all good. Um, well, I've been to your Instagram page many times and checked out a lot of stuff, which is pretty cool. You cover like almost everything and anything, not just the mob, but
Right.
crime in general
Thanks for
in the New York.
noticing, by the way.
Yeah, well, of course,
Yeah.
and the New York area. But if you can give us a little bit of background on what motivated you to start this kind of page and your interest in crime, street crime and all that kind of thing in the New York area. What inspired you? What motivated you?
Yeah, thanks. I do have an Instagram. It's not always super active. Obviously, hopefully everybody watching can go to NYC Crime Spot on YouTube and check me out. That's kind of where I'm most active. Well, I've always been interested in crime growing up in New York City. Crime in general, I think it probably starts with I don't know. You get into like those lone wolf, those serial killer weirdos. You start getting interested in some of that history, and then I guess I started observing some of the history in my city and where I grew up in New York City and Queens. And as far as like starting the channel, though, me and a friend of mine by the name of Tommy, who is I forget how much older, maybe almost 10 years older than me. Back in the day, he used to always tell me about the mafia. He's half Irish, so he used to be in love with the Westies, and he used to tell me
Hmm.
all that history. So we reconnected and started hanging out a lot again 5 or 6 years ago and started talking about the organized crime. And then we just started driving around, checking out old spots, checking out neighborhoods. And I figured I always wanted to start a YouTube or do some type of documentary. So I figured I might as well document it and then try to get into like making narrations and documentaries and walking around the streets in New York City. So that's kind of how it started. And I got a little attention from it, so it just kept me doing it. I just kept doing it till today.
Well, when did you and Tommy begin this whole idea?
Well, Tommy's never like this would be 2021. But the
Okay.
channel is really just me. No one helps me with it or anything. But 2021, and I think I started the channel in June or July of 2021, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, Tommy was a little bit of an inspiration.
Yeah, because we rekindled and we started talking about organized crime, and I was like, hey, why don't you just like drive around? We got nothing to do. We'll go check out some of this weird stuff, check out some of these weird things. What is it like at the Gemini Lounge? Let's go check that out. Weird stuff like that.
Okay. Well, in the process of doing that, I'm sure um, well, let me backtrack. Checking out these places that some of them no longer there. I mean, they're there, but there's something that they're a different establishment. Like the
Right.
Gemini Lounge now, I know is a church. Um, you got which is kind of bizarre to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, the Ravenites different. The
Right.
Bergen Hunt and Fish Club are different. They've all changed. Their what they look like. They're in the front. And they're different businesses now. One's a shoe store, I think, something like
Right.
that. The Triangle Lounge in the Bronx. That was, I think, the Genovese crew used to have it. The Palm Boys, the Social Club, which was
Right.
Tony Salerno's place.
Yeah.
And when you were, checking out these locations that are different now, um, I guess from what I noticed, you gave people a little bit of historical background of what these places used to be like. Um, when you did check out these places, how did you guys go about it in the sense of, you know, scoping it out and was there any people saying, "Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you bothering?" or whatever, things like that?
Yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, a lot of the times that, I do like crime scenes. I rarely do a walk and talk where it's based around like a social club or a hangout. I have done it. I'll talk about those, but usually they're crime scenes and stuff. Um,
Mhm.
so how I go about it is, first of all, I try to get a layout of the land. If anybody's doing research, New York City, fortunately, has publicly available the 1940s and the 1980s tax archive photos. So that is like a godsend. I use those a lot. A lot of the times, you can find old pictures through these tax archives of the actual restaurant or social club or place, and you can juxtapose it to what it looks like now. And a lot of the times, the architecture is still there. Maybe the facade is a little different, but people want to see what it looks like today. Not only that, they want to see the neighborhood. They want to walk and talk through the neighborhood. But there's been some places I've went inside, like there is a restaurant on Lefferts Boulevard, which today is it's called JT Kingston Restaurant, Jamaican restaurant, which is
Mhm.
Robert's Lounge.
Robert's Lounge, yeah.
Right. So I went in there, I filmed the whole inside. I reviewed the food. I may or may not have snuck into the backyard. You guys can check that out in the video. And believe it or not, Nick, all the wood trim in there, everything is like original. I was shocked when I went in there how much original stuff is in there. So, I went inside Sammy the Bull's Tallies, which is a Chinese restaurant now. I went in there, I
Yep.
ate the food, I reviewed the food inside there. So it's almost like becomes like a food review slash criminal history tour sometimes. So that's kind of the way around it. I've never got into anything where people bothering me for filming. It's been pretty good, man. I mean, sometimes I'm alone. I don't always have somebody with me, but it could be a little precarious at times, for sure.
Ah, okay. Um, well, because I want to try to stick with the mob stuff because of the show, but I want
Sure.
to get other stuff as well. I want to get other crime stuff as well. But um, in reference to the mob stuff and Tommy being Irish, did you cover anything on the West Side where the Westies used to hang out?
Yeah,
Like
so I've never
like
done,
12th.
I've, yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
I've never, say it again?
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say like 11th, 12th Avenue, which is
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
where they hung out.
exactly. Yeah, so I have plans to go into those establishments, the 596, the Rainbow, the White House, Mickey Spillane's. But what I've
Uh-huh.
done as far as on my channel with the Westies is, if you know, I've done two things in reference to like those Irish guys. In the 60s, Jimmy Coonan,
Hmm.
Sullivan, and then they get these guys in Long Island City within a few weeks apart, I believe. So I've been to those crime scenes in Long Island City, Queens, talking about those stories and going to like that early Jimmy Coonan stuff and visiting the locations where these crimes took place as far as the Westies go to. Mickey Spillane's murder spot in Woodside by the DeMeo crew. I've been to his apartment building and talked about, at that
Hmm.
location, but I've yet to go into Hell's Kitchen, into those clubs, but I do plan on doing that at some point, hopefully. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there's one place I remember um, where the Westies used to hang out. It was actually a Greek place called Blaka Bar. And Billy
Waka, I've
Comas,
heard of it.
yeah, yeah, Blaka Bar was a Greek place, and Billy Comas, who was part of the Westies with Jimmy Coonan and all them, used to hang out there. And they actually um, killed Teddy Dugan. They
Mm,
start they they got him to go in the place and
right.
they whacked him in the place and I think if I remember correctly, Comas went and he had to go help to bury him. If I remember correctly now. They did some business with some New Jersey Greek guys, Nicky
Mm,
Darastakis, with some counterfeit stuff. Um, the reason why I know all that is I'm Greek myself,
yeah.
and I did. My third book was called Mafia Ties with the Greek Syndicates, and there's a whole part with the Westies, with how the Irish work with the Greeks.
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
how I kind of know that. Um,
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't remember something like that.
Well, honestly, I heard of the Plaka, and the reason why I heard of it was because there's a book that comes out in the 80s by Ira Burkow, and he writes it with Bobby Comfort, who was
Oh
a
yeah,
hotel heister, and
Hotel Heights.
he mentions the plaque in the book in reference to a place that I think Sammy the Arab likes to hang out at. Maybe I think maybe that's where I heard of it actually.
It's
Now that
funny
I'm
you mentioned
thinking,
Sammy the Arab. Bobby Comfort and Sammy the Arab Nalo
yeah,
were involved with the Pierre Hotel heist.
right,
And Danny Donald, Tony Frankos, the Greek, Tony the Greek, he was involved with that heist.
hmm
Sammy Nalo, um, you know, took a whole, he robbed a couple of whatever money they made. He walked away with a lot of it. Um, and Nalo actually was killed in 1990. I think it was 1991, I believe, if I remember correctly. And because he got out of prison and he was friends with Spiro the Greek, who ran the Greek mob in Astoria. And he was muscling in on some of his gambling dens. And Spiro went to the Lucchese family because he was under the Lucchese the Lucchese flag, and told Vic Musso and Gaspar Casso that he's got a problem with this guy. And they said, "Well, it's your problem. This guy's not connected to anybody. You take care of it." But eventually, Pete Chiodo, who was the guy that Spiro used to, kick up to,
yeah,
he took care of it.
yeah,
But Spiro never told him to kill the guy. Just, get this guy out of my way, not to kill him.
right,
But Pete
right.
Chiodo sent two guys there, Richie Pagliolo and Mike Spinelli, and they whacked him.
Yeah,
Down
yeah.
there.
If I remember correctly, actually, didn't the police report that Arab told him Spiro did this to me as he's like dying on the floor or something?
Yeah, yeah, he did say that because he was just, yeah, it doesn't confirm nothing. It's just
Right, right,
him
right,
saying
right.
that.
Yeah,
Because the reason why he said that because he had a meeting there
yeah,
scheduled with Spiro at his travel agency, but
yeah,
of course Spiro didn't show up because he was being set up.
right.
But he never knew he never knew he was going to whack him. You
Yeah,
know, Spiro went to jail for life. He actually died about a year ago in prison.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
he went to prison for that reason.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Black Bar was used by a lot of the Irish guys and Bobby Comfort and all them. That's interesting you mentioned that. Um,
yeah.
Now, when it comes to other type of crime scenes, like you said, serial killers and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, Now, how do you gather? Well, let me go back and before I say anything about that one. What was your most interesting crime coverage that you did?
Yeah, so I would say the most interesting personally for me, which is not going to be the most interesting for everyone else, because a lot of people are into certain things, but personally interesting for me. So the day, the day after they arrested Rex Heuermann, who is, who we're told is the Long Island serial killer, the Gilgo Beach killer. The day after, the next morning, he had just been getting picked up. He just got picked up. I ran out to Massapequa and I recorded about 90 minutes of evidence collection, standing there with all the press and just mixing in, filming the whole thing with everyone else as they're taking out all this evidence out of
Wow.
what looks to be one of the most notorious New York State serial killers who ever lived. If in fact it is him, I believe it's him. So that was probably the most interesting experience I ever had. I think I've done things on Joel Rifkin. I think they're kind of similar in a sense. So it was a little surreal to just be there. I almost wish I wasn't filming it so I could just watch it, with my eyes and just like take it in a little more. But it was pretty tense. The whole neighborhood was there. Everyone was pretty shocked. They were like, "Wow, I mean, my neighbor's the Go-Go Beach killer. Like, what's going on?" So that was pretty intense, man.
Well, when you were doing that, were you getting? I mean, you weren't getting like, "Hey, well, who are you? What are you doing? Are you the
No,
press?" Like you didn't get
no,
any.
no.
Wow, really?
Everybody was just mixing in. You had people from Channel 7, Channel 12, Long Island, and then you had the guy who lives up the block. We're all just standing together. They didn't, they didn't even think about it, I don't think, because he had gotten arrested. I don't know. I think it was early. afternoon or late morning the day before when everybody found out the notice went out. Long Island serial killer has been arrested, and then as the day went on, we found out who the guy is. And I'm there the next morning, so I don't even think the cops or the press or anyone was really worried about how we're going to coordinate this thing. They knew it was going to be a shit show. They knew it was going to be a shit show. The whole neighborhood was going to be there. Ultimately, Nick, actually, what they did is in the following week or two, any cars that even slowed down near that house, the cops were waiting there, keep it moving. They got so sick of it that they had like 24-hour police there. I mean, I knew someone that went by and stopped and took a photo. They got pulled over and harassed. They were like, "What are you doing? Why are you taking photos? Get out of here!" And they
Wow.
got really mad. They got really
Well,
mad, of course.
Massapequa is my brother lives there,
Yeah, it's a
and
nice
Massapequa
place.
it's a very well-to-do neighborhood. Nothing
Yeah,
ever happens there. It's the pretty affluent neighborhood, and something like that just doesn't happen there. It's like the crime is so low there. It's not even funny.
right,
It's
right.
it's a mostly Italian, Jewish, Greek neighborhood.
We call it
Uh,
matzo pizza.
yeah, really, and it's a very nice area. And something like that happens in a neighborhood like that, it shocks people because like
Yeah,
Massapequa, something like this in Massapequa, it's unheard of.
yeah,
So it is. I'm sure that was a pretty interesting experience.
yeah.
Um, when I know there's a lot of other type of programs like yours that covers, crime stuff, mob shows. I mean, mob scenes, and like peep guy. I know there's a guy that goes by this that did something on the Spark Steakhouse where Paul
Okay.
Castellano was killed.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't like, is it? Did you ever think like, oh, I have some competition? How do I stand out?
Yeah,
Did that ever
well,
cross your mind?
yeah. No, it definitely did cross my mind. But the way that I would want to, well, first of all, there was one person that did it in the beginning. When I started, he had started a little before me, and he would just drive around in his car, but he would never get out of his car until some of his later uploads. So my first thing was like, all right, well, this guy's kind of doing an idea that I think is cool, but he's driving, so that's not going to
Hmm.
cut it for me. So I have to walk. And then my original thing was I was doing like 10-minute little narrations with pictures. And then at the end of that, I would be like, now let's go to the streets and check it out. So I would do like this hybrid documentary slash walk. That was
Hmm.
kind of my original idea. From that, it just became like long form documentaries with no walk and then just straight up walk-in talks, which is a lot of what I do now. I just do walk-in talks. And also, Nick, my whole thing was like, I'm not going to come on here to tell you the history of Cosa Nostra in the United States of America. Like, I'll give you background to some event, some of the main players. We'll talk about neighborhood history. We'll talk about building addresses, what the buildings used to look like. We'll talk about what happened there, and then whoever lives in that area, I just ruined your walk for the rest of your life, basically, which is what people have told me before. Like, oh, I live up the block. I never knew that. What the hell? So that's interesting. But no, it's just like I don't know. I don't think in New York City, as far as the mob stuff, I don't think anyone has kind of done in a manner of which that I do for like I don't know. I don't think I haven't really seen anything. I mean, I've seen little bullshit people like with their shaky phone. Oh, this is where this happened, and everything's all a mess, and it's like a minute or two long. I don't think anyone really does what I do completely. To tell you the truth, in New York
Well,
City.
now, you've done New York City. Have you done outside like Queens, Brooklyn?
Well, no, well, yeah, no. I mean, when I say New York City, yeah, I mean like Queens, Brooklyn. Most
Right.
of my stuff is probably Brooklyn. A lot of my stuff is Brooklyn. A lot of Queens. Manhattan, I think I've done not often, maybe two or three times. One of them was the Luigi Mangione thing. I went over there and I was doing the whole thing on that. I think I've done something else over there, but Staten Island, the Bronx. I've pretty much been in every borough. I would say a lot of Brooklyn, though.
Okay. But
Yeah.
you said you were originally from Queens. What part?
The land of the Greeks, Whitestone. at
Oh,
North
yeah.
at North Flushing.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
But of course, Astoria, but definitely
Yeah.
Whitestone, North
Yeah,
Flushing. I
definitely
mean,
Whitestone. That's for
yeah,
sure.
that's where I
Yeah.
grew up.
Um,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay. Um, that's where well, actually when Spiro went to prison, his family moved there. They were first living in Bayside
Okay, nice.
before he went away.
Yeah,
Then they moved to Whitestone. I know the family very well. I used to I know him well. I know his family. They're all great, very nice people. I love them all. They're all great people. Even Spear was a great guy. I mean, he was good to me. You know, he was
yeah,
very. I visited him in prison twice. He was, you know, may God
really.
bless him. You know, he's may he rest in peace. Um, Now, when it comes to these things, you've spoke a lot about the most of the guys you spoke of were men. Did you ever do anything on women?
Women. It's a good question. Yeah. Hmm. I mean, I mean, plenty of women victims for sure.
Yeah.
Anything. So there is some interesting crimes on women that I wanted to cover.
No, I mean them being the victims, them being the
No, then
actual
the criminals.
criminals.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if I've went to a crime scene specifically where the woman is the criminal, but they are on the list.
Uh,
You got women like Alice Crimmins, this woman Ruth Snyder. You know, these are women both actually from Queens who did horrible things. There is a I did this. There was like this second Amityville horror that happened like last year, where there
mm,
was like some weird. I don't know if it was a drug house in Amityville, and two victims in this house got, I guess, the Gemini method. I don't want, and got
yeah.
spread apart around parks in Long Island. And I think I think two of the people arrested in that case were one or two of the people arrested. I think maybe just one of the people arrested in that case was a woman. I went to the house where they had did it, like maybe a few days after. They had all the police tape up and the stickers on the doors, and I went around there. So that was probably the closest, maybe, to like a woman doing something really bad that I've covered. But
Mm.
there's plenty, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to them.
We'll get to
Yeah.
them. Have you ever done any? I'm not sure if you did. I don't remember if I saw it. The Menendez brothers.
No, because I have a strict nothing outside of New York policy. I mean,
Okay.
maybe Jersey or whatever, but I'm like real, I'm pretty strict with it. Yeah. I thought about
Oh, why?
starting other channels for stuff like that, but you know, I never.
Okay. Any reason for that, or just it's too much of a pain in the neck to go on stage?
Well, you know what it is, Nick? It's just like a lot of that stuff is the mob genre is pretty hard to get a follow. Well, the crime genre in general, but a lot of this stuff is pretty hard to get a following already. Um, And when you start talking about cases that are so famous, you have to do something so crazy to stand out. Like I could do a video on the Menendez brothers, and somebody might see it and be like, "I know about the Menendez brothers. Like, why would I want to watch that?" Or if I do something on Charles Manson or Ted Bundy, yeah, I don't know how you can break through like doing stuff like that. I guess some people do,
Hmm.
but it's a lot harder, I think.
Oh, so in other words, you want to stay a little more current.
I want to stay, no, not current, but I don't know, try to talk about individual incidents, individual crimes instead of giving like full biographies on people,
Okay.
or or stuff that's like so popular, like John Wayne Gacy. Like I can go on YouTube and do a whole thing on John Wayne Gacy. It's gonna get buried behind so many John Wayne Gacy videos that have so many views. It's never gonna penetrate, it's never gonna,
Yeah, I got
YouTube with
you.
the algorithms, it's just never gonna, I just wouldn't
Right.
see it happening. It's a lot harder. Yeah, it's a lot harder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, since you've been with the show, doing the show so far, um, if you had an opportunity to do something different, what would it be?
With this show,
Yeah.
I would say that from the beginning, I would probably focus a little more heavily on the non-mob stuff and probably keep it more 50-50. because
Uh-huh.
originally my channel started blowing up. The largest video on my channel is not an organized crime video. Go figure,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of the first one that started blowing up on my channel, and that had nothing to do with organized crime. So looking back, I probably would have kept it a little more 50-50 as far as organized crime and one-off, incidents.
Okay. Well, do you think maybe when it comes to stuff in the OC, um, because like you said, I mean, a lot of stuff has been done already. Like you said,
Right.
like John Gotti or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but you can like venture out of the Italian or Irish scenario, or even the Greek for that matter. Even though very few people talk about it,
Yeah.
but you just have the Japanese, you have the Chinese. I mean, Chinatown, forget about it. That's like there's
Yeah.
so much rich history there. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
That you can probably blow up big time. I mean, nobody talks about the triads very much, or the Yakuza, for that matter. They're not talking about. They're not really mentioned too much in any of these shows because it's mostly about the Italians, mostly about
Right.
the
Right.
traditional mob, which, like you said, is true. It gets a little bit either redundant
Right.
or it gets buried under so many other shows that do the same thing.
Yep.
Um, have you ever thought of doing something out of that, whereas a different ethnic group?
Well, I've touched, on the Brighton Beach guys a lot. I try to do that a lot. The guys that came here in the 70s. People give me shit for, this is like a government term, Nick, Russian organized crime. People say, oh, these guys are, they're not really Russian, they're Jewish, they're really like the Jewish mob. I'm like, whatever. Like it's called Russian organized crime. What do you want me to do? They came from USSR. They came from the USSR in the 70s, and they came here, or they went to Canada, or they went to Israel. They had a few different options to get out of the USSR. So I've covered a lot with the Brighton Beach stuff with Manya Elson, Evsey
Yeah,
Agron,
Ivan
Vladimir
Koch.
Reznikov, and I've been to locations in reference to these guys, and I've done like little biographies on them. So that's like the next ethnic group that I have covered, and that one really nobody covers, Nick. Like nobody.
No,
I find
I
it
mean,
fascinating.
yeah, well, the Russian mob, there was Jewish Russian Jews, yes.
Right,
There were real Russians as well, like Ivankov. Ivankov was 100% Russian.
right,
Um, there was oh my God, Nielsen, who was also I think 100% Russian. So there was a mix. There was the Russian Jews and there was the Russian Russians,
right,
because the
right.
real Russians were the 40. Um, that
Vorvisi
were
yeah, yeah, yeah. The thing is, like, the ones that came in the 70s, a lot of them were Jewish because they were had like the
yeah.
Soviet Jewry movement, and they were getting, and then the USSR, like all these great countries, do Cuba. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You want them? Take them. We'll throw in some murderers in there too. You could take them too. We'll give you some gulag guys too. We don't want them. Take them. So that's how they end up. They come here and they do what they do.
Mhm.
Some of them are freaking nuts, man. I mean,
Oh, no
really,
kidding.
really nuts, man. Worse than the Italians. I mean, they'll freaking
Oh
kill your.
yeah.
They'll do stuff to your family, man. Like, yeah.
Well, just like the Albanians.
Well, yeah.
Even though they're not a power in New York anymore. They were for
Right.
a while. They even threatened the Italians. Almost went to war with them. I don't know if
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Right.
I don't know if you ever covered it, but the story where they met, they had a meeting with Arnold Squitieri from the Gambino family at a gas station, and the Albanians came with like, I don't know, the Italians came with like 30 guys, or they came with 30 guys or something like that. There was a bunch of them, and the Squitieri was trying to shake them down and say, hey, we're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to give us this. And the Albanians were like standing there with AK-47, and so like, okay, we're gonna shoot the gas tank over here if you don't agree with what we want. And they knew that was serious. And Squitieri's like, okay, no problem. Later on, you hear on video, on audio tape, that Squitieri's like, these guys are psycho. They
Yeah.
were really, they were really gonna really shoot the gas tank. They didn't care. I mean, imagine they would have blown up the whole entire block
They try
with
to
them
like start
with them
like
included.
they try to like start like a six family or something, right? At some point, something like
Yes, it
that.
was.
Who was
Yeah,
the guy that was
oh,
with Rudai? Lenny, they
yeah,
call it. What was his
yeah,
name?
yeah. Alex Rudai. It
Right.
was.
Who there was another guy with him. I think they called him Lenny. I'm not sure. He used to be with the Gambinos.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, I know who you're talking about. It wasn't Lenny DeMaria.
No,
Forgot
no,
his
no. I
last
think that
name.
might have just been like his nickname, Lenny, or something, but I don't remember
Possible.
his name.
Yeah, they did start you're right. A six family. They called it the corporation.
Yeah.
And, they were from the Bronx, and they were trying to kind of muscle in. They muscled in on the Greeks after Spiro went to prison. They went to muscle in on them in Astoria,
Yeah.
and they actually went to the soccer club that was run by the Greeks, and they walked in there with machine guns. It's like, we're taking the place over. The Greeks were sitting there with pistols and like, okay.
Yeah.
They put the pistols like, what are they gonna do with pistols against machine guns?
Right,
And
because the as far as the Greeks, as far as like the Greek mob goes, or maybe it's not even a mob. I mean, you would know better. Maybe it's just convenient to call it a mob. Maybe it's something else. But I mean, they're not like known. They're not like clipping people left and right. I mean, they're just money guys, right? For the most part, or
yeah, they're gambling. I mean, they ran gambling dens and horse parlors, and they did a little. They did some, loan sharking stuff like that. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, but they were under the Italians. They were under the Lucchese family,
Okay, yeah.
so they were not independent. They were independent, but they still
Right.
had to kick up every month.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
the Albanians didn't kick up to nobody. They were on their own, just like the Russians.
Yeah.
Um, Nobody controlled them, but the Greeks were under the Italians, and you're right. Um, they had a certain amount of power.
Right.
They were bigger in Philadelphia. They had a whole
Oh,
army
is that
there in
right? Okay.
Philadelphia.
I didn't know
You
that.
know,
All right.
um, but when it comes to your show, it's like I said. If you were to right now at this point, what are you? What is your plan on focusing more on now to try to grow the channel and give it a little more, even more credibility than it already has?
Right.
Um, what are you looking to cover more that will, um, you know, make it more popular and help it grow? Like a lot of people don't understand how YouTube works.
Yeah.
Even in my show, even mine, it is difficult to get, to make it grow bigger. It's tough. It's a real, it's like another job. Um, but maybe you can educate some people out there in reference to this.
Right, right, right. Well, it is tough. It is tough. I don't know. The last I checked, like the average to even get to 1,000 subs, on average, it takes some people like a year or two or something. So it's not, don't get it twisted, people. It's not TikTok. It's not Instagram. You could probably go on TikTok and get to 1,000 or 10,000 subs 10 times quicker than you would be able to. YouTube is the hardest social media platform to be successful in. It is the absolute hardest. There's really nothing harder than it as far as staying relevant and keeping up with the algorithm and getting people to care about what you do. It's not easy. That's
Hmm.
kind of why I like it, because I find that it is the most hardest. I enjoy it for that fact.
Oh,
But I
you
would
like the
say
challenge?
just yeah, yeah, it's fun, It's just as far as people that want to do this, I guess. I mean, don't copy anybody. I listen, you've been around a lot longer than I have. I mean, but as far as like internet stuff, if you're gonna get into mob stuff, be prepared to get your heart broken. People are gonna steal your stuff. People are gonna regurgitate some of the stuff that you type. If family members give you photos and you put a watermark on it, people are gonna steal it and say it's theirs. So prepare to get your heart broken a lot. But try to be, which has happened to me numerous times. Just try to be original. Try to find those diamond in the rough stories. Try to do biographies on people that nobody has done biographies on. Try to talk about individuals. That's how I started, like also with the DeMeo crew. I started picking them apart, doing individual biographies on the characters instead of just talking about Roy DeMeo all the time. Ended up being friends with with a guy who was with them, which is interesting. But um, as far as my channel now, I'm trying to be more professional. I just released a two-parter so far of a walk and talk through Brooklyn with a former organized crime homicide detective by the name of Frank Pergola. I mean, he's been documented in numerous books. Murder Machine, that piece of shit, Louis Ippolito even talks about him in his book. A lot of people have spoken about this guy in books. So we have a series going on the channel right now. We put out part one and two. We go to Brooklyn. We talk about his experiences. He worked a lot on taking the DeMeo crew down. He was one of the guys responsible for putting the pieces together on that crew, and he's got a lot of history, and people are really enjoying it, man. So I'm trying to do more of these walk and talks with other people
Hmm.
where I'm not talking, I'm not really a part of it. I'm just showcasing somebody. It's more of like a human story with a criminal connection. So I would really love to get more into that. I know that a lot of people on YouTube like stuff like that. They like these human stories, and I'm just trying to be like trying to keep it New York, trying to be like the New York City guy in reference to this stuff, and hopefully somebody likes it. And
Hmm. Well, my last question before we end the show is: have you ever thought of working on actors that might have been involved in a crime or been a victim of it, or something in that respect? You know, somebody, some kind of actors or actresses, like venturing into that area.
speaking to actors or actresses that have been victims of crimes or stuff like that.
Something to that nature.
I mean, yeah, that could be cool. That could be cool. I mean, if it could be taken to like a street level, I guess, like a walk and talk type thing. Yeah, I really would like to do more stuff like that. I mean, there's definitely people on my list that I would like to reach out to in reference to that. I don't do many interviews on my channel. So once again, like if I do them, then it's got to be something like, all right, well, we're gonna take a walk or something, because I don't
Yeah.
do them that much. I've done a few, not too many to be honest with you. It's not really my thing, but if I could do it, it would be more like documentary style where we're walking around and
Hmm.
really I'm like not even there, I'm just like, I just the directing and producing it or something, which is something I'd love to get into. Um, I would love to get into like real documentary filmmaking. I don't know, I guess something like that. I have a lot of ideas that I think are pretty cool, but
Well, just to throw one thing out there before I go, is did you ever think about maybe taking a culmination of your work and putting it, like you just said, like a documentary film, like putting it all together as a series, like where,
well,
like a film, more or less.
that's kind of one of the ideas I have because like
Ah.
the way I look at it, it's like it goes back to what I said to you earlier, which this is not like I'm not here to tell you about the history of the mafia. Like, some people do that and people watch it, they watch it, but it's like a lot of people are not like they know it, or if they want that, they know where to find it.
Hmm.
Like if you want to go back to square one with all this stuff, right? Like to me, it's like snapshots, stories within stories of events that have happened within this thing, these stories that nobody talks about. And to me, that's like Tales from the Crypt, right? That's what
Oh
I grew
yeah,
up watching. That's what I grew up watching as a
I
kid.
remember
These
that.
30 or 40 minute stories, right?
Uh-huh.
And then the next week it's a story about something else.
Right.
I see that with organized crime, to be honest with you. I see a series like that, and I've been saying it forever on organized crime, where you have these 30 or 40-minute storylines where you're not talking about the same thing. Could be anything. It could be episode one. I don't know. Fucking Jimmy Heidel tries to kill Casso he gets kidnapped, he gets tortured, and whatever. I mean, that's a 40-minute story right there. Next week, you go back 30 years, you talk about another. It doesn't, you don't have to tell people the history of the mob. To me,
Right,
it's
yeah, of
like,
course.
to
Hmm.
me, like, I mean, you've been doing this a lot longer than I. I mean, how much ugliness, how much sick things have happened within this existence of this thing, right?
Yeah,
Um, and then you've had some people who are referred to as serial killers in that life, right?
Tommy
So
Karate.
let's yeah, Tommy Karate or Roy DeMeo or whatever
Yeah,
it may be. These are the guys that connect horror to organized crime or whatever. So I think that, I don't know. I think there's a market for stuff like that. I think we don't have to keep hearing about Fear City and John Gotti and this and that. Like,
I
we can
agree.
introduce new characters and we could do different storylines, and you don't have to bore people with the history of the mafia. And I think people would like that, to be honest with you. So that's kind of something that I'd be interested in doing for sure.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Well, Brett, listen, it's been awesome having you on the show.
Thank you.
Um, I wish you luck with the New York Crime Spot. I like it.
Thank
I
you.
always I always check it out when I have an opportunity. Um, I know you'll do do better as you move ahead, and I wish you luck. And we'll keep in touch, of course.
Of course. Thank you so much. Yeah,
But
please.
let the people know like where they can get more information about you and about the show and and the Instagram, everything.
Yeah, yeah. So Instagram, NYC Crime Spot, YouTube, NYC Crime Spot. You guys can check out my playlists. There's different playlists for like the Goodfellas and Lufthansa heist playlist. You'll find a bunch of biographies and locations having to do with those guys. The Stax files. We did a whole biography on Steven Stax Edwards, played by Samuel Jackson in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I put out a bunch of info on him. I have his nephew on the show. Never before seen rare pictures. If anybody wants to know about stacks, I'm into that stuff like that. So check out the playlist. That's a good way to start. And if you guys could come over, leave me a comment, tell me that you saw me on Nick's show, and give me a subscription. That would be awesome. Really, I converse with everybody. I answer comments. Send me an email at myccrimespot@gmail.com if you want to chat or something. I don't know. Just yeah, I'm a nice guy. Come say
There
hi.
you are. Oh, awesome, man. Well, thank you, Brett. Uh,
Thank you, Nick.
Appreciate you coming on. Good luck,
Thank you.
and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
No problem, brother.